Japan from the ocean was rarely seen by many during the fisherman's time. He wished his wife would have allowed him to bring their son with him today, and produced a piece of tied rope he used this morning to teach his son knots. His coat didn't feel right. His son made the knot that kept his coat closed. He couldn't wait for his son to join him, and hoped he understood Japan's beauty. A northern gust surprised him. Dark clouds formed, current shifted, and the sea became an unusual color. He studied the water, but didn't notice a massive fin surface behind him and swipe him overboard. The fin belonged to Japan's shark creature, Isonade. And this is Legends from the Pacific. Aloha, and thank you for joining us. This is Legends from the Pacific, episode 104, Japan's shark creature, Isonade. I am Kamuela Kaneshiro, a native Hawaiian professional writer, speaker, and Comic-Con panelist with extensive film and television experience. I study mythology, I've encountered unusual things, and I'm a geek. You can support us by getting 2 or 3 of your friends to listen to our show. This simple request goes a long way in helping us grow our show. And a big mahalo nui loa to our Patreon members, whose support keeps our show going. Also, a big mahalo nui loa to you listening to us on Google Podcasts. Later in this episode, your featured song and Hawaiian word, but first, let me share with you Isonade. In Japan's western waters lives the Isonade. It is said to be a massive shark-like yokai or supernatural creature. Its scales are barbs, and with one gentle motion, it uses its tail to hook people wandering beside the ocean. This is how the creature earned its name, since Isonade translates to beach stroker. These creatures are so stealthy they are soundless when capturing people, which is kind of a big deal since it's noisy whenever anything surfaces, especially fish because their thrashing causes splashing. So, once you've been hooked, you're dragged underwater and eaten. Isonade are also called okuchai wa ni, or giant mouth sea monster, which is interesting because the creature's appearance is unknown. You see, it is said the Isonade is so massive, only its rear body and tail have been seen. So it's the opposite of Cecil from Beanie and Cecil. I wonder how many of you got that reference. But I digress. The Isonade can remain underwater for a couple of months before needing to surface. When it does, its massive size causes storms, the north wind blows, currents shift, and the sea becomes a strange color. The abrupt weather sank ships, which the Isonade ate with its crew. The fisherman studied the unusual ocean. Then he was underwater. Something jostling him back and forth was attached to his robes and dragging him into the depths. His ears popped, air was low, and he thought of his wife and son. He didn't know if the darkening water was from him passing out or the depth. A thread rose from the ascending bubbles. It was the rope he used to tie knots with his son. His son used a slip knot on his belt. The fisherman struggled for his belt between thrashes. He tugged an end, hoping his son tied it correctly. His belt slackened, the tail launched him from his robe, and he swam for the surface. Mid-stroke, his body convulsed. He struggled, keeping his mouth closed. He reached for the glimmering surface and broke through. Fear and adrenaline beat, coughing and hyperventilating as he scurried to his boat. He laid on the deck until the storm clouds passed. He never told his family, but continued fishing, because what good is a fisherman who didn't fish? He told fellow fishers. They agreed he was very lucky, for most weren't. He never wasted a day. but stayed low to the deck when the north wind blew, clouds gathered, and the current shifted. Today, the Isonade has been seen in manga, anime, video games, specifically the Pathfinder role-playing game and Naruto. So what exactly is the Isonade? It has yet to be known, but based on Japan's folklore, I'm thinking it could be a shark or fish that's lived for hundreds of years. Honestly, it's probably evolved from something similar to a magic carp. If you like what you heard, please give us a rating and write a review. I'd really appreciate it. Our theme song is Mystery by Tavana, courtesy of High Sessions. Sound effects are by Sound Effects Factory. Our music coordinator is Matt Duffy, aka DJ TripleBypass. Links and show notes can be found on our website, legendsfromthepacific.com, including a link to your featured song, which is Pua Tuberos by Izumi and Waipuna, courtesy of High Sessions. Legends from the Pacific was written, produced, and edited by me, Kamuela Kaneshiro. I also wrote our original stories. Your featured Hawaiian word is Iapana. Iapana means Japan. An example of Iapana is Transformers began as a toy line in Iapana. Once again, Iapana is Hawaiian for Japan. Thank you once again for listening. Mahalo and a hui ho!